and that's a squared plus b squared. I think this is the only formula people leave high school knowing. And they give us the information that I need, and they want me to find what c is. So I have my a squared is 7. And you know I like to write everything in parentheses. B is 9 equals c squared. So c is what I need to find. 7 squared is 49. That's 81. 9 squared is 81. 49 plus 81 is 130. Now to find c squared, I need to take the square root. So c is the square root of 130. I think for what is the exact value of c, I can write 130. And then if I plug it into the calculator, what's the value of c approximated to 3 decimal places, I get 11,402. 11,402. Simplify this radical. Add and subtract. Radicals have to be like. So we have to look at each one first. By looking at it, a lot of students might say, oh, they're not like and right does not exist or something. But we want to see if we can break them down. So 6 times square root of 112. 112 I can break down. I can break that 112 down to 16 and 7. And I kind of knew that it had a 7 in there because of this radical. So that radical has a 7, so I'm thinking the other one definitely has a 7. So I divided 112 into 7 and I got 16. And then I can break 16 down to 4 times 4 and then times the 7. And then it's a square root, so I'm looking for two repeated numbers. So I take out a 4. 6 times 4, radical 7. 6 times 4, now the 4 is outside. You have to multiply it by to the 6, you get 24, radical 7. So the first radical is simplify, and then mine is 4, radical 7. Now the radicals are like, we keep the like radicals. The radical 7, and the numbers that are in front, I just add and subtract them. So I have a positive 24 and a negative 4. That is 20. 20 radical 7 is my answer. This one, the index is 3. And with the odd index, you can have a negative inside. So negative can be inside. And the thing about it, we want to take out 3 are the same factors, but we want them to be negative because at the end, I don't even want a negative inside of my radical. I want inside of my radical to be positive. The first thing I need to do is break down negative 512. So you pull out your good old calculator. And I think that is negative 8 times negative 8 times negative 8. So 3 of them need to be negative because in order to take it out, it has to be 3 of the same numbers, and it has to be 3 negatives. And then I can break down x, write x out 3 times. And now I can come up with my repeated group. So a negative 8 is going to come out. Once I cross out 3 of them inside, I write a negative 8 outside. And then I can look at the x's. There are 3 of them. Cross them out and write one big X outside. So my final answer is negative 8x. Any questions on this one? So just breaking down the radicals, looking at the index. My index was 3. So I'm looking for 3 repeated factors. This problem, we have another word problem. We are still going to use the Pythagorean theorem. And they want us to find, they have this blimp is flying at an altitude of 5,300 feet above a motor speedway during a race. So they give us this information. They want us to find the horizontal distance h as a function of d is h of d. So we're just going to use different letters for the formula. So one of the letters is going to be h of d squared, and then the other one is going to be 5,300 squared is equal to d squared, because that's the part of the function that we are looking for. So the opposite of the of the right angle, that's the hypotenuse, so that's going to be d squared. And now I'm solving for d. I'm solving for h of d. Because they want us to find the horizontal distance. So that's h of d. So I need to move a negative 5,300 over. And now in order to get a single h of d, I need to take the square root. So h of d is equal to radical d squared minus 5,300 squared. We need to multiply the radical by itself. Any radical times itself is just going to give you that number that's inside. So radical 7 times radical 7 is just going to give me 7. Then I just multiply the top 3 radical 7. Now, radical 7 and a regular 7 cannot cancel out. So your final answer is 3 times radical 7 over 7. So just remember that you cannot have a radical and in denominators and the denominator. The add and subtract rational expressions. The denominators have to be like or the same. All right, so here, we did this a long time ago. We want to make sure each denominator is in factor form. So if I have the difference of squares, x squared negative 25 gives me x minus 5, x plus 5. I'm just going to jot down the second fraction. Now the denominators are not like. I need to make them like by finding the LCD. So to get the LCD, I write everything from the first fraction, the first denominator. So I write everything from the first one. And then I look at the second to see if there's anything I need to add or if anything that's common. So I have an x plus 5 ready, so I don't need to add anything. My LCD is going to be x negative 5 times x plus 5. Now I look at the numerators. And denominators too. So in the first denominator, I have everything that's in this LCD, so I do not have to multiply that numerator by anything, so it stays 5. In the second fraction, when I look at my LCD and that denominator, I'm missing the x minus 5, so I need to multiply that numerator by x minus 5. And before I do anything, I need to subtract straight across now. 5 minus 4 times the quantity of x negative 5. I need to do some fixing up, some cleanup. So I get 5 negative 4x plus 20. Remember that this negative is going to change everything in parentheses. So this is actually the 4 times a positive x. It gives me negative 4x. A negative 4 times a negative 5 is a positive 20. Anything that's like negative 4x plus 25. Now I can write that. I can write LCD out now. And this is n. Keep the first fraction the same. Put the line there so I know that's a z. And then I have to flip the second one. So the second fraction, you have to flip it. And then we change division to multiplication. And now at this point, I need to factor all numerators and denominators if possible. Now I see if I can cancel anything. I can cancel top and bottom diagonally. So I can cancel out a z plus 9, a z plus 9. So I'm just left with z negative 9 and z plus 6 over z. And that's all you can do with this problem. So you just have to factor all denominators and numerators. The only one we was able to factor was the z squared negative 81, and we canceled the z plus 9s. So they want me to find, identify any relative maxima and minima and intervals where the function is decreasing and increasing. So remember that we start on the left side of the graph. I made the graph bigger. So we start on the left side of the graph. And this is negative infinity. And to the right side of positive infinity. So they want us to know, they want the relative max. The relative max is the highest point on the graph. That's your Uncle Max. And it's always what y is, your y coordinate. And so your relative max is going to be 1. It looks like 1. So your relative max is 1. The relative max is 1, and at x is negative 1. Then my lowest, my relative min, my Aunt Minnie, is negative 31. So my min is negative 31 at x is 7. So that's how I find the max and min. And remember that is always the y coordinate. And the way the problem is set up, is written, it gives you, it says what relative maximum is at x is whatever. So it gives you a clue of how the number should be written. So now we want to find increasing and decreasing. So increasing seems like there's one here and one here. So it's 2 places that is increasing. So this is negative infinity, this is positive infinity. So it looks like it's increasing from negative infinity to negative 1. Remember that's your increase and decreasing constant is x coordinates only. It's moving across the x axis. So we only need my x coordinate. So this is a arrow here. So that means it's negative infinity. If it was a point, then you would plot the point, the number of the point, but it's just a arrow means that it's continuous, so it's negative infinity. So the first one is from negative infinity to negative 1. And then now the other increase is from 7 to positive infinity. So on your study guide, the answer for that would be A. Now decreasing seems from here. That's not dark enough. So decreasing is coming from negative 1 to 7. And I think that's B on your study guide. equal to R of X negative C of X. So we need to find P of X. Then I need to find R of 80, C of 80, and then P of 80. It's going to take the rest of the class to do this one. So P of X is equal to R of X minus Cx. So they give me what R is in C. R is 60x negative 0.3x squared minus, so you want to put the C in parentheses. So C goes in parentheses. And then I just clean it up. 60x negative 0.3x squared negative 4x negative 15. Combine anything that's like. Put it in descending order. Negative 0.3x squared plus 56x negative 15. P of X is negative 0.3x squared plus 56 negative 15. Now we need to find R of 80. So we just want to substitute 80 for X. That's in R. So 60 times 80 is 4,800. 80 squared is 6,400. Multiplied by 1920. Subtract that, you get 2880. So R of 80 is 2880. Now C of 80, C is 4x plus 15. So everywhere I see x, I'm replacing it. Then 480 is 320 plus 15, 335. Now there's two ways to find P of 80. So we know that P of X is R of X minus C of X. So if I put 80 back into P of X, then I can get the answer. Or I can just subtract R of 80 and C of 80 and come up with the same answer. So 2880 and negative 335 is 2545. And I'm sure it's going to be written like this. So we're going to do a function, find h minus g of 2. So h of 2, and then we need g of 2. So you want to break up the 2. So you're going to have h of 2 and g of 2. And then you're going to subtract, you're going to input the 2 into h, you're going to input the 2 into g, and then subtract. So h is x plus 4. Replacing the 2, the x, 2, replacing x with 2. I said it backwards. You get 6, and then radical x minus 9, replacing the x with 2, I get 2 negative 9, which is negative 7. So this one is not going to, this function value does not exist. Because we have this negative in here, there's nothing else I can do for now. It's not a real number. So you will have, after doing all this work, S would be the function value does not exist. And this one right here is composition of functions. So the first one, we want to find f composed of g of x. And then I want to find g composed of f of x. So f composed of g of x means that g is going to go inside the f function. So f is 4x plus 1. So I'm replacing x with radical x. So I get 4 times radical x plus 1 for f composed of g of x. And then I need to find g composed of f of x. So f is going to go inside a g function. Everything that's after the equal sign goes inside of the function. So now they want me to find the domain of f composed of g of x. So we have this radical here. So you have that x is greater than or equal to 0. And they want it in interval notation. So x, no, not x, bracket 0, comma, positive infinity. That is going to be your notation for that one. And then the notation for g, you take the 4x plus 1 out of the radical. Greater than or equal to 0, you solve for x. So x is greater than or equal to negative 1/4. Again, we want it in interval notation, so that it's going to be bracket negative 1/4, positive infinity. So this one talks about some parking lot parked cars. The only thing we need to pull out is n of a is 2.5 times the radical a. They just want me to find the average number of arrivals when it was 49. So I just substitute 49 for a and replace it. And so now if I simplify 49, I get 7. And so 2.5 times 7 is 17.5. And they said they wanted to the nearest integer, so the nearest integer is 18. And then the last one part, they want to know at 61. So you'll put 61 back in. 61, this looks like, this is an A. So you will have your calculator to find square root of 61. And that is 7.8. And when you multiply that, you get 19.5. And they want the nearest integer, so that would be 20. And n of A is 2.5 times the radical A. They just want me to find the average number of arrivals when it was 49. So I just substitute 49 for A and replace it. And so now if I simplify 49, I get 7. And so 2.5 times 7 is 17.5. And they said they wanted to the nearest integer. So the nearest integer is 18. And then the last one part, they want to know at 61. So you'll put 61 back in. 61, this looks like, this is an A. So you will have your calculator to find square root of 61. And that is 7.8. And when you multiply that, you get 19.5. And they want the nearest integer, so that would be 20. Any questions on this one?